So this instructional video is to show you how to go about saving your Vericut submission for your assignments, just so that you get it submitted correctly with all the files that are needed. What you see in front of you is one of the labs, Lab 4. This is the project file that pretty much everything is stored in, and this project file links to other files that are important. If you go over here to the tree, you'll see that there is a machine as part of your project. If you expand out the machine, you see the base, and then as you expand this out more and more to the different axes of the machine, the y-axis, which is the saddle, the x-axis, which is the table, and so on, you eventually get down to the fixture, stock, and the design. If you expand out the fixture, what you see in here is a model which links to a file on the file system which stores the geometry of the fixture. In this case, it's a curved vise. If you expand out the stock, you get to the models, and inside there you see that there is a stock file for setup 2. So this also is a file that exists on the file system. And similarly for design, if you expand design and expand models, you get to the design. The design is the final part that you want to achieve from the machining. If you look here in the screen, you'll see that there are a couple of colors here. There's gold. This is the workpiece material, and then showing through it in purple is the design. When you're simulating, it's a good idea maybe to hide the design. And the way you can do this is come over to the project tree, right click on the clock-based design, and then click the visible button here to hide it. And now the purple disappears and all you're seeing is the stock. It's good to do this because sometimes it can be confusing to have the design showing through the workpiece when you simulate. You may not correctly see that the part has been gouged or that there has been material left. In addition to these files here under the machine, there are also files that deal with the tooling. So this is your tooling file here, and this also is stored on the file system. If you double click on tooling, this shows you all the tooling that is stored in that file. I'm going to close this down. There are also places where your programs will show up. Right now I do not have a program connected in here, but once you have your programs connected in, you should see them showing up here under the NC programs entry in the project listing. So that's kind of the structure of a Vericut model. It's composed of the project and a bunch of other files too. Let's go to the file system. So I'm going to go across here to the file system, and I'm going to navigate to this same folder that has this model in it. So under the course directory, under course materials, under verification, HOS VF2 models on the Lab 4. This here shows you all the files that make up this model, excluding of course the PDF file. So right now there are 2 project files in the folder, one for each setup. There is the tooling file, which is a .tls file, as you can see here. There is a fixture file, which is an STL file. This is a fixture, curved vise in this case. There is a piece of stock, which is for the second setup 2 stock, which is an STL file. And then there is the final design. This is the final geometry that one wants to achieve, clock-based design, which is also an STL file. So all these files are what make up the Vericut model, and when you submit an assignment, you pretty much have to submit all these files if myself or the TA is to be able to open your model correctly and visualize it. Now, one file that's missing from here is of course your final code, which should be a text file. So my recommendation to you to how to do this is to copy this folder. So I'm going to copy this folder here, and I'm going to go across to my directory, so you'll have your own space, and I'm going to go ahead and save this folder. So there it is, Lab 4. So all those files were copied over. And now I'm going to go and copy in the code. It's in another folder that I created for the assignment. So I'm going to just navigate to that folder. And these 2 files here, base 1 is for the first setup, base 2 is for the second setup. These are text documents, as you can see, and they contain the G and M code for the first setup, which is the first project, and the code for the second setup. So I'm going to just shift click and copy these, and I'm going to navigate back to where I just copied that assignment folder. So here it is, lab 4. I'm going to double click on this, and then I'm going to paste these two files in. So now I have all the files that are associated with this assignment, the Vericut files as well as the code files that you needed to create. Now, of course, the code files are not yet linked into the Vericut model, so what you'd have to do now is go back to Vericut, right-click on the program. You'll notice down here that there's an option now to add an NC program file. I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to navigate to that folder that I copied over, lab 4. And since this is the second setup, I'm going to click base 2, and I'm going to move it across to the right hand side, hit OK. Now you'll notice over here that this file now shows up under your NC programs. And now I'm going to go ahead and of course simulate it just to make sure it works correctly. And once you've simulated it and you've made all the changes you need to make sure it runs correctly, what you would do then is go back to the file system and zip up this file, so send to a compressed folder, and then you would of course rename it using your login ID, and then copy and paste this to the Dropbox for the particular assignment that you are working on. So I go across here to eTech 322, Spring 13, Dropbox folders. If it's lab 4, I'd right click here and paste it in. So that's kind of the approach for you to follow to make sure that you submit a complete Vericut model. If you leave out any of those files, when I open it up or the TA opens up your model, we will get a message saying that the file cannot be found. So please follow these instructions. It'll make it easy for us to look at your work and grade it for you. So that's how you go about saving proper Vericut files.